So, Colin Flaherty, welcome to the Soul Sync podcast.
And Jason, thank you once again for having me back. I love this little podcast and I like
Oh,
talking. So,
well, I can
yeah,
tell you this, Colin, the podcast and I love you. So, welcome back. Your episode
thank you.
before, I have to say, is one of the most favorite episodes of mine that I've ever done. Because, Colin, you do remind me a lot of my granddad, who was a medium, firstly, and his sort of sense of humour. So when you last came onto the Soul Sing, obviously we had a talk about your background, and it's very, very
Yeah,
interesting. So if you want to go back and listen to more of Colin's story, do so. But we're going to talk today about something you mentioned quite a lot in your first episode. And I know we also said in that episode that you were going to come on and talk about this. And it's taken a long time. Firstly, because I've gone on a spiritual break. Well, not a spiritual break. I just went on a podcast break for a year. I hid in a closet, Colin. And
good for
then
you.
it's been trying to track you down. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, we're going to talk today about a tribe called the Crow Tribe based in Montana.
Yeah, that's where I was with them in Montana. Yeah. And the reservation uh, is there in a place called Pryor, Montana, Pryor. That's where the reservation is also.
Hmm. So, when you told me about this before, I knew this was going to be, firstly, a very interesting episode to hear about your experiences. So, take us back in time then. Firstly, why did you even and how did you even decide to go there? Because it goes without saying that you are a medium, Colin, for people who don't know that. But walk
Right.
us through this. Walk us in back in time.
So this was just um, prior actually, literally just before such a short space of time before I moved into the spiritual in its depth, if you like, for me and my journey within it. Although this was definitely a spiritual journey of its own. So the first steps, I guess, actually, because I can't separate the two, just but you could in a way because of the culture. And it wasn't like being a medium, stood up, teaching, giving message, all of that stuff. This was a grounded, um, natural. It was a beautiful, beautiful period of time, 4 years in that sense, but it doesn't mean I stopped living it or taking notice or practicing it as a way of life, which I still do today. Very much is incorporated in much of what I do in life, even now. And it started, it was my mother actually, because obviously if people listen to our last exchange podcast, it talks about my younger life being really, let's say busy, hectic, etc.
Spicy, like mine.
Yes, mate, absolutely. Uh, and we have to accept that past. That's who we are. That's what made us who we are, you and I both. And I don't regret any of it.
Me neither,
But
Colin. Me neither. Here to that.
yeah. And so my mother would always be on the lookout for things that might inspire or push me in a positive direction, according to her philosophy. And so one day, remember, we always used to have those free newspapers. They used to come around, free ads, the yellow one, the pink one, all of them.
The
And
yellow
one day there was
pages,
a,
it's the size of a pamphlet now, Colin.
I know, well, there was a little advert in there where a doctor of Native American studies from over here in Surrey was promoting and asking for people or letting them know that for the first time in history, as far as the Crow were concerned, they were being sponsored by this doctor and a few others who came together to bring the people of the First Nation tribe, the Crow, from America to England, and to do a ceremony called the Sun Dance.
Mm. So
Um,
what year was this in, Colin? Because the way you're
oh, good.
describing this, I'm going to guess by the yellow pages you're talking about 1995.
And maybe just a little before.
Oh, I'm so glad I was close, Colin. My psychic
You were
skills are
very,
working today.
keep on the ball then, because you're doing very well.
Thank you,
So it was
Colin.
just a year or two before. It's around that period anyway.
Hmm.
Um, and so, and back then, for whatever, I'd always had short hair growing up right the way until this time. I had grown my hair. Now, I'd always been into the Native American thing, even from a kid, always. And even when me and the local kids would play cowboys and Indians as toddlers, I didn't care. I didn't have a gun or this or that. Excuse me. I would be the Indian. Bow and arrow was fine for me. And Kellogg's cornflakes, I remember back in the day, in the late 60s, early 70s, would put little figurines in their cornflake box that you could collect. And I can remember them all being lined up on our kitchen windowsill. Code Cheese, Red Cloud, Sitting Bull, Geronimo, you name it. I had the whole line of them there. And so I grew up with it in me, not knowing what it was because you didn't measure it when you were kids. You just knew what you liked. And as the years grew on, and just I guess into my around the 30s period, um, I started growing my hair, and then I started wearing things like you can see I'm wearing now. Um,
Mm. Very
more
fashionable, Colin. You look very lovely there. I love what you're wearing.
that's
Is
Cocapelli, and
Oh, I
that
thought you were going to
actually
say that was Gucci for a minute there, Colin.
is probably not. The label
I'm only
says made
writing
in
you up.
China.
It looks
But
lovely, very tribal.
yeah, and that logo is now my website logo. If you go on my website, that's the kind of way it's dressed up. Anyway, moving on. So, where was I, Jace?
You were
I
getting,
was,
before I rudely interrupted you, you'd gone, you'd grown your hair, you were having this
yes,
moment where you wanted to get into the outfit, Colin.
yes. So, yeah, all of this kind of garb, if you like, I was wearing it. My hair was very long then. Pity I haven't got any photos handy. However, it was, believe me, and it was plaited. And I used to wear the beads, and a lot of people, even not knowing my Native American connection and like of it, love of it, actually, would always say to me, like, you look like an Indian and all of this, that. And I was actually proud that that was the case. Like, thanks very much. That's great. And so there was a date and a time for people that wanted to attend, and you would have to write in. You had to sign a disclaimer, which I'll explain why, because of the circumstances of the Sundance. It was a 3 day event, and it's what they call a prayer ceremony. And so now I'm not, listen, whatever I say is in comparison, it's not conflicting, and I'm not digging at other people's belief systems. I'll just be expressing mine, okay? I
Oh,
wanted to make,
Colin, noted. You say what you want, Colin. You don't need to get
okay.
disclaimers out now.
So, um, as opposed to, and like I say, I'm not diminishing the power of prayer in any way at all. But I thought to myself, so let me just go on. I went to this event. I hiked from Portsmouth up the A3 all the way to Surrey. I'm trying to think of the place, doesn't matter, but it was out in the sticks in Surrey. And
Blimey.
and I walked for a good few hours first before anybody would stop for me. And I had all the
Oh, you was
necessary, like,
hitchhiking at the time.
I, I was, yes. And I had my backpack
Blimey.
with all the equipment I was asked to bring, like a waterproof sheet if it rained, a sleeping bag, a pillow for a little bit of comfort. and things of that nature. And I'm hiking. I walked for many hours, to be honest. And then I remember this. You won't remember this because you're far too young. Was the old Austin Miner thing, the little bubble type car. Um, and a little old lady pulled over, and she said to me, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" Blah. And I explained to her, and she said to me, "I live just round the corner from that postcode. Jump in." I get in, and she's also a spiritualist. So, blah blah. Say no more. The one car that stops took me
Mm.
within 3/4 of a mile of the venue. Dropped me off, and off she went. So I arrive. It's a beautiful sunny day, actually, and I'm dressed in all my garb, and I even had a little hat with all the feather and stuff on, etc. I arrive there, and as I get to this big field, and I can see they're all busy, lots of people working and setting up stuff over there. And then I see another encampment over there, and I see this tall guy, like 6'3" ish, walking towards me, slim build but tall. And I see that the nearer he gets, he has these long braided plaits, and he's wearing a very colourful t-shirt, and he has, all the bits. And the closer he gets, and I see this very distinct, where all like the cheekbones and the jawline and the skin, and you just know this guy's like genuine Native American, but I didn't know anything of him. I'd never met him. And I arrived, and he came up, and he didn't shake hands. He hugged me properly. First meet, big hug. And I said, "Welcome. What's your name?" I said, "This." And he said, "Oh, yeah, we were expecting you. We wondered if you'd make it. Please come." And so we went, and everybody had to be busy helping setting up this, what they call the lodge. It's done differently
Mm.
these days because back in the day, they would have used what they call their young pine. They were called young. There's another name for them I've forgotten, but it was young pine, something pine. I remember later maybe, and they would make the lodge out of that. But because now of the concern over trees and preservation, it's very rare that that happens. Now, I have to leave out elements of what the Sundance is because it's a sacred ceremony. And there is nothing you can find recorded, not by native hand, at least. Like we would have a book, we have the Bible that tells us blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
We have you have the Quran, they don't have books. They have historians, tribal historians, and they have two of them all of the time. Should something happen to one of them, there's still one left, and then they will enroll another one, and then they will
Oh,
share the
blimey.
story.
It sounds very hard because the next person is always going to have to remember more than the person before. The job never fails to get bigger with the amount of
Yeah, but
knowledge.
it's not forever history behind.
Oh, I thought they was having to. I was thinking, blimey, they must have to
But
sort of.
but they know the essentials, like the
Yes.
big things and those things that are recorded. I was never a tribal historian, obviously, so the actual deeper elements of what is and what isn't remembered would not have been told to me because I wouldn't have been privy to it. I was never a tribal historian,
Mm.
was never likely to be. But yeah, so it has that. The story is kept like that. But in essence, to say that, excuse me, that it is a prayer ceremony and it involves no food, no water so we would do 3 full days up until the fourth day of the sunrise, where you would do your morning, the last morning prayer, because at sunrise you would do a prayer every day. Plus, there were songs that we had to learn during the ceremony. Excuse me, you were right. You said we'd get dry, so I'm glad I.
Yes, I prepared you with my water
Well done.
suggestion.
So. yes, there would be healing as well. There was in one day through that week, there's a day called Doctoring Day.
Hmm.
And I can remember because this first event was in England, in Surrey, that I believe it was the second morning. I believe it was, not the third, the second. And we're remote. And the Sundance leader, who was sat very central, because in what we called the lodge, the Sundance leader would be facing the entrance where everybody came in, and
Hmm.
that is where the sun would rise. So
Oh.
he'd be facing the sunrise. And on this doctoring day, the Sundance leader stood up and went to what's called the center pole. So in the center of this big circle is a tree that had been cut and it had been presented in a particular way, a particular manner. That's all I can tell you. And an ambulance trundled across the field and stopped just at the entrance to the lodge. And then they wheeled in a patient, a male patient, who was a total paraplegic. And
Oh.
they rolled him, yeah, and they rolled him in. And then the Sundance leader would do some healing for him, and then they would take him back out, and that
Hmm.
was that. So we've done these 3 days and nights in England. We had a fairly hot summer for at least that period. It was really quite hot here, high twenties, high twenties,
Oh,
closer
sounds
to
beautiful,
30.
Colin. Where's that gone?
Yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, so it was very, very hot. And so we on the last sunrise, um, you're all waiting for the water woman, she's called, because you've been nearly, well, at least 3 days, well, full
Hmm.
3 days and a bit without any fluid and no food whatsoever. The food was not an issue for
How
me.
was you feeling at that point?
Not great.
I can
I wasn't
imagine.
great, I'll be honest. And you, I'll give you an example. Towards the end of the second day,
Yes.
and you knew it wasn't hallucination because of what you saw and the way you saw it. And it was only on living things that I experienced this, and I know many others did also. And all the living things that you would see, for example,
Mhm.
where we were out there, there were a couple of deer that came around, and you would see the birds flying and the trees, all the big things. You got to see their what we call their aura or their life
Oh,
force
wow.
because you got more and more sensitive as time went on.
Oh.
You really did. No food, no water. Your body starts to come alive in quite a big way, let me tell you, and your
Do you
mind.
think that the process of the I don't know if I want to call it fasting or starvation, but probably a bit of both. Um,
Yeah,
do you think that was increasing your sensitivity, just the practice of that, or was
absolutely.
it? Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was more the environment rather than the food.
Well, I would say because of the motive and the energy
Hmm.
and all of that. Yes, I think because you subconsciously gone into an energy that's very different because it's very
Hmm.
giving, very spiritual. Because we didn't pray for ourselves. There was actually a theme for that, as they do on every one of the sun dances. And this one, because important back in their own country, was the way the buffalo were being slaughtered, which are very, very sacred to First Nation people, Native Americans.
Hmm.
So that was the theme, the preservation and the protection of the buffalo. Um, and yeah, so as the time went on, we got more and more sensitive, and I saw all of this color with the birds that would fly, the trees that were
Wow.
there, and these odd deer that would come about. But you wouldn't see it in front of your eyes with anything else. So you know it wasn't a projection I wasn't seeing spaceships or funny green men or any of that. You know, it was all
You
with
knew
living
what you were
objects.
seeing was, well, real, and you were experiencing it. You had no doubt that you were seeing what you were seeing.
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. And so that last morning, the water woman would come when she was ready. She knew you'd been all that time with no water, and she would come when she was ready. And she was quite kind. She wouldn't come too late. And so after our last prayer morning, sunrise, and then maybe an hour or so after, you could see her walking up the hill, the grass bank. And she had a tin bucket with lots of little mugs hooked on around it and a ladle. And she would give you a mug. She would ladle a reasonable amount of water into your cup and you would swallow it. And let me tell you, we don't value water,
Yeah.
but you go 3 and a bit days without it. And when you feel it go in your body, you literally feel every pore, cell, every aspect, literally from head to toe, draw that. You feel it traveling into your body as you drink it when you've not had it for that time. And then you realize how important water and how
Mm.
sacred water is. The Sundance leader won't swim in water because of how sacred he holds it. And if we
Oh.
ever went on a hike, which we often did through the mountains and the hills where he was based, I'll tell you about that after because there was things. Um, then yeah, you know how essential and how blessed sacred water is. And then after that, we would pack up the camp and put everything away. There was a lot to it, believe me. And we would all go to the main camp, which was where all the food and the goodies had been prepared
Oh
by.
my goodness, I'd be wanting to run over people, Colin. I would be very
Yeah.
spiritual at that point.
But yeah, so we all made our way there. The Sundance leader would do a talk first about the event, about people and thanking and greeting and all of this for everything that we had experienced and that we were part of. So a very gratifying, a very spiritual thing, you know. And that was the kind of a big prayer, if you like, that he was giving for that. So we would all get our food. Now you try and eat solid food after not eating for 3 days. The throat's a little different, believe you me. So there was a lot of soft, liquidy
Lubrication
things.
required.
Yes, you could say that, Jace. Yes. And so like mashed melon of all sorts, things that so you get those things down first so the throat and the swallowing started to work. And then you could move on. So they did a lovely stew, which with a nice lots of gravy sauce in it. So it was very liquidy, but very good, beautiful. Buffalo stew, and it's
Mm.
beautiful. So we did all of that, had the drinks. And then at the end of or during the eating, there is a thing called the giveaway. Now, these people that have come across from America, tribal people, there were one or two. Well, I connected with them all, but some of them, I just like one in particular, as well as obviously the Sundance leader,
I
who was
can't
still
imagine
my.
that, Colin. You're so lovely. I love you, Colin. How could no one like you?
It's not that they didn't like me or anything of that nature. It's just that we don't always get on with everybody. That's the way life is.
Well,
But
yes, indeed.
I did connect with everybody in a very nice way, and hopefully that was the same two ways. However, I found that in particular, I bonded so greatly with the Sundance leader, whose given name is Scott Frazier, because the Americans going back took their name away, wouldn't allow them tribal names.
Mm.
And so his tribal name per se is Enamani. However, we would all refer to him, but I keep his name as well because I think it's powerful for them to call them in their tribal name for me, but
Mm.
to be respectful as well. So he's quite fine with me calling him, like most of his friends, Scott Frazier. That's his given name. That's how he's known. Um, and then he was actually adopted into the Crow from the Sioux by a guy called Thomas Yellowtail of the Crow, who you can look up. So Thomas
Mm.
Yellowtail is mentioned on Google, and yeah, you can trace their history through there. And the other guy who was called John Potter, and he was adopted by Scott Frazier as his brother. And John Potter was from the Canadian side of tribal stuff, from the Ojibwe.
Mm.
So he was adopted as a brother. And him and I, although I don't speak to him I haven't spoken to him in a long time for no reason other than we haven't spoken. Simple as that. However, we had in that moment, I believe,
I bet you'll
and
want to speak to him now after doing this episode, Colin. And it's
it
Christmas
might,
as well. It's
I
Christmas,
know,
Colin.
I'll have to get in touch with him. But we do this thing called the giveaway. Now, when I left my mother's house to go to this event, she bought me a very beautiful, large, white feather, smudging feather. And it was
Mm.
bound with lovely leather and beads, and it was beautifully done. I didn't know about the giveaway, but the giveaway, if you give away something that doesn't mean much, it's not really much of a giveaway, is it?
No, it's a booby prize, Colin.
You got it.
No
And
one wants the
so,
booby prize.
so John Potter was sat next to me, and I gave him the only thing I thought, what can I give you of value? I watched what was going on and the things people were giving. And I thought, this is the only real thing. So that's why my mother gave me it, although unbeknown to her. So I gave him the feather and he was like overwhelmed. He said, are you sure? And he kept on at me, Colin, you told me about this feather and that your mother had given me. I said, yeah, but obviously, look, have it. It's yours and I give you it gladly. Now, they had nothing. They had nothing. Tribal people, they had nothing. However, Mr. Potter had noticed that I had complimented him and commented. He was wearing a t-shirt, and the emblem of it was a one-off emblem that he had been printed by him solely and put on a t-shirt. And it was the emblem of the Crow Sundance. So that's their church. It's the church. The Crow
Mm.
Sundance is the church. And he had the emblem printed on it. And he said to me, listen, I know you like this. So he literally gave me the shirt off his back.
The shirt off his back.
Literally.
Blimey.
And they had nothing else to give. They had nothing
Oh.
else to give. So it was a huge thing for me to take that. I've since had
Mm.
that because I gave the t-shirt away later on to a lady, particularly in Australia, in Queensland, who ran a spiritual center where I went and did some stuff, and she had Native American stuff everywhere. So I'd had it tattooed on my back, the emblem, before I went
Mhm.
over, knowing that this t-shirt was going to go somewhere. I gave her it to her. So
Oh.
that was the Sundance. That was the first one, and it was in England. Now, I don't know if you want to talk about any other aspect yourself or ask of anything before I move on to things.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, Colin. There's many things I want to know, but I want to hear about how this unfolds, actually. So I think, Mike, you carry on, my dear.
Okay, so I won't keep describing every Sundance I did, but to say I did a few of them, plus in America, I will tell you one quick. incident. So we were going to Missouri for a Sundance. This was when I was in America because my mum and my stepfather were running a spiritualist church and were living in West Virginia in
Okay.
America. And so I had spent, oh, on and off those 4 years, I was there all the time. I was there all the time doing things. And this was a couple of years later. Okay, things have moved on a little. So I got an invite saying from Bozeman, Montana, from the Sundance leader. A letter came to the house. It was short and sweet. There was no mincing words. We would like you to come here on this date for another Sundance. And then I noticed in the bottom of the envelope was a cigarette, tobacco. So tobacco is sacred to Native Americans. Okay. It's not social, it's sacred. It's all about prayer. And when you make a deal or you arrange something with someone, you seal it with tobacco in the hand and a handshake. Okay. So
Mm.
that's that. So I get this tobacco. So I smoke it. And all I needed to do was put the butt and the ash, the rest of it, back in the in an envelope. I did write a very small "Yes, I will be there, thank you" on a piece of paper, and I returned it, and that's all it was needed. I sent back the reply. I could have just sent the tobacco; he would have known. And so that was done. And so anyway, I'm over there. I'd done a Sundance prior to that on the reservation in Pryor, Montana, which was a fantastic, hard, very, very hard in the American midsummer. Oh my God, so hot. Um, but then we went to Missouri. Anyway, we'd arrived somewhere around that area. We were looking for food. We were hungry. And we stop at this place. And it's a glass fronted, rear, back, everything's big glass around cafe, diner. So we walk in through the front door. And as you're walking in up the aisle, you've got a row of seats on your left, a row of seats on your right, and you can see the open kitchen with the counter on the right. Up through the aisle, there is a back door straight out the back of the glass building. But just before the back door, there is what they call a washroom. We would call a toilet door. And I've gone to find a seat, and they've all carried on walking past everybody, sat down, and they've all gone to the toilet. The whole lot of them. I'm thinking, blimey, they're all desperate, desperate. However, I walk in the toilet after them, and they're all the elders, the important people, talking amongst themselves. They turn round, they come out, and they all start filing straight out the back door and walking around the glass fronted building. And I'm like, oh, and I trust it. We're in a part of the country down in the southeastern corner segment, like what they call rednecks. They will use,
Oh,
yeah, they will use all the Native American slogans. Even the cafe we were in was called something like Geronimo's Cafe, but you can't be Native American in there. And
oh,
you see all these people sat in the seats, dungarees, good old fashioned, the old blue dungarees,
yeah, yeah.
beards, straw hats. Literally, this is who the people were sat there. And the look and the energy from all of them to all my friends. And I've never walked out of a restaurant because people don't like the look of me. Have you? I wasn't going to.
Oh,
I wasn't going to, mate. I had long hair. I was well tanned then as well. I'd been out in the sun for months. Deep, browny, deep, good colour. Dressed in all of this stuff, long hair. I even had it plaited while I was there with them. So as far as they knew, I was part of the team, and I absolutely was anyway. I'm proud of it. And actually, the disdain they showed to all of us, included me, I was actually quite proud they had disdain for me because it means, oh, great, you class me as one of them. And I'm so glad
It's
you
a
do.
bloody compliment, yes.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
However, I wouldn't walk out the back because I never had and I never would. So I started to walk back the way I came in,
Oh, very brave,
da-
Colin.
down the middle. But the looks I was getting from all of them filing outside the building through the glass windows was not great. They were
What a
looking at
shame
me.
they're even like that. You got someone there that's, this amazing person that's, I would want to put on a pedestal. And you got people there who don't even realise who they're discriminating against. What a story. I wonder, has it
Well,
changed now? Is it still like that?
no, no, this is still, it's the same.
Oh, that's it.
And
Oh,
so
bloody hell.
yeah, I walked down the middle and I looked them all in the eye and my head was up high and I walked right through and out the door and I got a good telling off at the other end. Um, but as well as that good telling off, there were one or two there that were like kind of
Mm.
well done, but that could have gone really wrong. You're a bit stupid. You're a bit foolish, but that really could have gone the other way. You're in America now. This isn't, you have to learn some things. Yeah, I was a novice. I was naive, but whether they say pride comes before a fall, yeah, do you know what? I'd have taken a fall in that moment. I would have took it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you have to think of the bigger picture.
You do
So there's,
indeed. You do indeed.
but there's that aspect from there. So I'd done those sun dances, and of course, before sun dances and things, we would often do. I mean, especially because I stayed at the Sundance leaders' home, which was a beautifully built wooden. Can't call it a cabin because it was bloody huge and with a lovely decking, and he had a sweat lodge on his land.
Oh, did he now?
Yes, of
That
course
sounds
he
very
would have.
nice.
Absolutely. So the sweat lodge is like an igloo shape,
Mm.
and I'll try and keep it brief. I don't know how much time you and I have.
Oh, Colin, you're not on a timer here, my dear. You
Oh,
talk for as long
great.
as you want to talk.
Let's keep going then.
Keep
So
going.
it's igloo shaped, and the sweat lodge is all about healing, about
Mm.
prayers. For me, that was the main thing about it, but it was so there was a peace you would get in the sweat lodge. Plus, you would get very bloody hot.
I bet you
If you've
would.
been to a sauna or a steam room, you can't compare them to the heat in a sweat lodge.
Well, I struggle in
You,
even
you're,
a sauna, Colin. I'm in there and
yes,
out there like a revolving door a minute later.
well, you would be out of there very quick because the heat doesn't sit like at the top in a flat square building and drip. It circulates because it's dome shaped, it rolls around
Like
and you
my
can't
electric
escape
oven.
it. And so you go in a similar manner, like where you would go in at the
Hmm.
Sundance, and women and men would go in there. Oh, I missed something out about the Sundance for the
Please go
women.
ahead.
So remind me to come back to the Sweat Lodge.
Mhm.
So let me talk about energy and things of this nature. So women, when they were on their month of their cycle,
Mhm.
they could not be inside the Sundance in the lodge, but they could do it sat outside because it's
Okay.
all about energy
Mm.
and giving and taking because they're flushing and so they will pull on energy for themselves. Do you understand?
Mm,
And so
yes.
it's the same at home. So when the Sundance leader, Scott's wife, was in that moment, she wouldn't touch food or cook. Scott and I would do the food because they would
Okay.
draw the energy from the food that you were cooking.
Oh, that's very
But that was a big
interesting.
thing. It's important. Yeah, a very, very
Mm.
important thing. So there's just that, just to let you know that now. Um,
Back to the
and
sweat
so
lodge.
back to the sweat lodge, and we would all go in. Now, 4 and 7 are. big numbers in Native American culture. Okay. So
Mhm.
you would prepare in the lodge because you would get these stones. There were special stones that would absorb the heat to a high temperature and would
Mm.
hold it for a very long time. So outside, you would build the fire. So I'm going to miss a couple of bits out, but you'll get the gist of it. You would build the fire in a certain way. It would be layered, particularly. There would be a certain amount of layers in the fire, the build, and there would be a certain amount of stones. And then all the participants, once the rocks had been heated sufficiently, would put them into the little pit in the center of the sweat lodge inside. And we would have a bucket of water with a ladle in there. So we would all go in and we would do the prayers and you would ask for healing for people. And there was a lot of sage. Sage is very sacred. You know, a lot of
Mm.
people these days, even over here, they cleanse their rooms,
Oh,
their
Colin, I don't
space.
stop burning it. I've got a little
Good,
witch's cauldron thing that I got, and I
good
chuck
for
me
you.
coals in it. And honestly, I got
Yep.
a flamethrower lighter for it the other day. I'm always burning my
Great.
sage. I love it.
Well, you do, and you should. You can sleep on it. If you get enough of it, you'd have to
Mm.
source it from America, but they have it in branches.
I'll do that. Oh,
They
I've
have it
only
in,
got a
yeah. No,
tiny little
yeah,
things of
I
it,
know.
Colin. I'd struggle to
No,
put my ear on it.
this is proper bundles of mountain sage. Remember for me to tell you about when we went sage picking.
Yes.
So, because that's to do with the hunting as well. So hunting, sage picking, herbs, all of that stuff. Remind me about that. We'll come to it. So yes, that would be under our seating arrangements, and you would put it under their beds because it's protection, it's cleansing, it's spiritual, it's lovely. And never stop using sage. Um, so we'd be in there, we'd do all of that. We would also sing in there, but I just said to you about the number 4 and 7 initially.
Mm.
So the sweat lodge would get baking hot, very, very, very hot. And if the Sundance leader wanted it hotter, he would just put more water on it. If he was being kind, he wouldn't put so much. And so he had the balance there.
Well, you was on
But
first name terms, Colin. I can imagine he was kind to you, I would like to think.
well, yeah, well, at times he used to test us as well. Like, so this is the real world. Get used to it as well. I've had that as well in
I
some of
bet
the
that was the one
sweats.
time you weren't appreciating water.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the, when you went in, because you had to bow down to kind of crawl in because it was low down. So in 4 sections it would be. So you would open the door, let the heat out so everybody had a chance to breathe, slightly recover, close the flap, and then sweat it again. And we would do that on for 4 times. And then it would finish. We would have a closing prayer
You're not
and
doing that
song
during
maybe
the Sundance, though, festival, the
before.
state ceremony. Oh, before.
So you're going to sweat
Oh,
before, and then you're going to go without water
oh
for
my
3 and a bit days.
goodness. You let,
Exactly.
blimey. That makes it even
Yes.
worse.
Yes, it does. And then at the end, you would do a similar thing where those people that had attended, oh, it was a full moon event as well, don't forget, same as the Sundance.
Yes.
And and that's important because when I tell you about the Vision Quest in a moment, because you'll remind me, that was important also. And so we would all come out, and then these visitors that to the sweat lodge had initially all brought food with them when they came to Scott's place. And so after we would all share the food and sit down and very social, very lovely, and make new friends. And we'd all eat the food and drink a lot of fluid. And that would be that. But it's a beautiful ceremony, the sweat lodge. It's hard.
Mm.
but it's a beautiful thing. And you get accustomed to it. For the first 3 or 4 events, I suffered greatly with big headaches for quite some time afterwards. Because it's harsh on the body, believe me. You got to do it to know it. But then you got accustomed eventually
What
to
were the
that.
effects that you would feel? Obviously it's a very sacred experience, but to keep going back for so many, what was it giving you, do you feel?
A lot of what you could say about all of these events hit you on a deeper level.
Hmm.
They changed you, your outlook, your energy, your personality, the way you viewed things. A lot of it you couldn't write down at the time. Oh, I got all of this from that sweat lodge, or I got all of this from the Sundance. You changed as a person,
Yeah. Do you know what?
spiritually,
I can understand
inwardly.
that.
It
Yeah, I can
really opened you
understand
up.
that. I'm
It was
relating to
huge.
you because when I go away and do week courses, I couldn't even develop that much in a year of like just doing like a hour and a half a week or whatever, because there is something about being within that energy and that environment. So I can definitely relate to that. Taking us on then to sage picking, Colin.
Yeah. So
You're keeping me on my
listen,
toes here. I've got a whole list of topics here. Sage picking.
okay. Yeah. So you have to bear in mind that First Nation people are not just Native Americans in America. First Nation people across the planet, tribal people, the caretakers of the planet,
Hmm.
of the earth, the caretakers of nature. Um, all of these people, we would be lost. This planet would be lost if we didn't have these people. They
I
literally are.
completely agree. I
That's
completely agree.
their
We need to
role.
get back to the way of the land. That's where we're
Oh,
going so
so
wrong.
so much so. It's sad. It is sad the way
It is sad. We need to
the
get back
planet is.
to being at one with the land before it's too late and we implode.
But we can all play our own part in it, in the
In
prayer that we give out and the
Yeah,
ceremonies and things we can do of our own. We
indeed
can
we
do
need
our
to.
own gratitude things. So thank God for the pagans that
Yes.
we have still doing their stuff because they're our tribal people. And so that mindset is absolutely, Wicca, pagan, all of
Mm.
that stuff is fantastic. And anything anyone does for the benefit of nature and the planet. So my hat's off to all of you there. Anyway, as you said, herbs picking. So this would apply to all things that we take from the earth.
Hmm.
And so we've jumped in his pickup truck and we're off getting some sage. So we drive up to the mountain and he's taken a pouch of tobacco with him. We get up there and we have all this. I look down, there's sage everywhere, big bunches, smaller clumps, little tiny fresh shoots, all of it. And so I say to him, so which bunches do I grab then? How common. What an outlook. I got a quick lesson. He said, "What are you talking about?" And he corrected me on my attitude, first of all, and the way I was talking about these things that were growing and the way I was presenting, like grab this and no, no, no. He said, "Come with me." And he went to a fairly big clump and he said to me, "Look there. What do you see?" I said, "I see sage." "Yeah, well done. What do you see?" And couldn't, I had no words to describe it any other way. I said, "A group of sage." He said, "Okay, I see family." He said, "I see
Mm.
family." He said, "Now look at them." He said, "There are grandparents there, there are parents, and there are the children, the young ones." He said, "You can't pick the young ones because they have no knowledge. They are children. And you can't pick the parents because they are looking after the young ones." He said, "But you can pick some of the grandparents from each part.
Oh no. The
But you
sacrifice of
can't,
the grandparents. That's awful,
but,
Colin.
but you can't pick them all because they need you need to leave some of the grandparents because who's going to pass down the knowledge to the others? So
Mm.
you have to leave an element. And so we would pick a couple from each family of sage, and in their place, he would take a nice clump of tobacco from his pouch, and where the root had come out of the ground, he would fill it with tobacco and would give a little short but respectful prayer of offering and thanks
Oh, that's lovely. You won't be able to do that in
for
England with the
each
price of
thing.
tobacco these days. You'd be.
No blooming hell, no, crikey. So that regard would be for anything I believe you would take from the earth. And I would say
That's
a lot of that
beautiful.
goes on in global tribal culture, and so it should be. Now, in hunting, because they
Hmm.
still do the occasional hunt, when they do a ceremony prior to going out on a hunt, it's because the animal that you're going to hunt, the individual animal, will know that it has been selected and will offer itself. So you're
So
not
hang on a
going out.
minute. So hang on a minute, Colin. You lost me there. So you decide that you want to hunt. What animal would you be hunting?
So we could be a buffalo, it could be a deer, it could be, like that.
Right. So you're not hiding behind a bush. You're selecting it.
Well, you might, however, but the ceremony, because of the power and the intent in the ceremony before you go to the hunt,
Mm.
the animal will know it has been chosen
So
and
it's
will.
obviously nowhere
Oh,
to be seen.
yeah, you can't see it from where you are, but it knows it's going to offer itself for you.
Oh.
So you'll go on the hunt. There's the animal. The animal goes down. You either shot it or whatever way you've chosen to. And as soon as you have hit it, you run to that animal and it's laid down there. And before its last breath, you get on your knees and you take your hand and you push on the lung, the chest, but you put your mouth to the mouth of the animal. And as you push down on its lungs, its last breath, you breathe that in. And
Mm.
similarly, what you're saying is that with your last breath, you thank them for offering itself and for its life and for all that it's going to give you. And you say, with your last breath, I will take you on and forward with me. So it's not like the end,
That's
even
so
though they.
beautiful.
So that's respect.
That is respect.
Huge.
We need to get back to respect because we're not respecting the land. We're not respecting animals very well. What are
No,
we respecting at the moment?
very little, Jason. To be
Yes,
honest, are we?
it's a great
Very, very
shame.
little. And so that was yeah, that's about that. So the hunting and the herbs, it's all about respect, about energy, vibration, frequency, intent. Even if you get things wrong sometimes, if your intent in whatever action you do, like them always, is to do the best for the best with the best outcome, even if it goes wrong somewhere,
Mm.
you can't spiritually, in my estimation, be held accountable if always my intention was for the best outcome.
Yeah, there's
Maybe
something so beautiful about everything that you describe in how the sacredness of it, the even, my relationship now with water, I view it like that as well.
good,
And well, because I read that book, the Dr. Emoto book, and the Japanese guy. Have you read it? I can't remember the bloody name of it now. It's where he's done a study of water particles that are
right?
frozen. And what they did was they
Yes,
started talking to the water.
yes,
And I actually tried this at home. Oh, well, this sounds awful to even say this, but I had two plants and they're both exactly the same plants. And I told one plant that, I dread to say this, Colin, I told it wouldn't amount to much. And I said that
Oh,
it wasn't gonna, be very strong and healthy. And I was shocked, Colin. The next morning I came down and it was dead, like freak dead. And the other one,
no way.
yeah, it was. It come
I
down.
believe it, but that
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, it died.
Oh,
I wasn't giving it 20 minutes of hurling abuse at it, but
right. You just, well, what about the plant you spoke well to?
oh, well, I think
Did
it
you
was
do that?
grieving for the first day. But then I told it I was very sorry what I'd done to its neighbour and gave it a lot of love. And actually, it is still a plant in my living room now, Colin, actually.
Oh, good.
And I do
Oh,
talk to all
well,
my plants now.
good. Yeah. Energy is everything.
It is.
Literally, people don't realize everything you do, you think, you say, your actions, what you put out actually brings back a response.
It's a frequency. It's a state. Yeah,
Frequency doesn't lie.
it doesn't
It can't
lie.
lie. Never can it. Never can it. You know when you see people and words come out of the mouth, and you know actually the energy doesn't match the words that you've just. So your intent is
Mm.
not real. It's not true. You've either said something that we would call a lie, or you've changed it a bit, or there's a hidden agenda, but the energy doesn't match the words.
And this is part of the problem when you're a medium as well, or you're someone that works in this. And this is why I struggle to have sometimes what I call muggle friends, Colin, because I can see. Well, I struggle with this at work when there's bullshit. Quite frankly, my bullshit detector used to be very sensitive before I went into the world of mediumship, being an ex-police officer. But now it's at a new level. When someone says that they're, off sick, and I instantly know. I think I'm not going
You
to let
just
this
know.
annoy me anymore. Yes, I'm like a
Yeah.
human lie detector, Colin.
Yeah, muggles. I have a friend, a very lovely friend, a superb medium, TJ Higgs. She uses the same word, muggles, about
But you know
the
what?
same thing.
It was my friend Donna who said it to me, and it started making me look at a lot of things differently. So when I go through my day, um, I'd get a sort of egotistical email. I'd go, "Oh, that's Muggle shit. That's Muggle shit," and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
use it as my thing now to go, "No, this is silly. I'm not going to latch on to this." And not give my energy to whatever it is could be abrasing me. There was
right.
what, and I'm sure we can all relate to this. Someone cuts you up in traffic, and you know,
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to allow my energetic state to change, but I will ram the horn nonetheless. Um,
yeah.
you what? Because Colin, you've got so much wisdom. What do you think? And what? Because I would just want to find out, because you've come on today. What things do you want people to really sort of wake up to at the moment, and what legacy of things you have learned would you like to leave? Some of us on today, because you've got such a wealth of experience, Colin, and no one says it quite like you. I'm putting you right on the spot now,
Yeah,
but I
that's
just
not
think
an easy
it's not an
question.
easy question. I know that.
Well, listen. So let me just string a couple of small things because we over the last few years, we've known a couple of people die, and on two occasions, on their deathbed, they've left a recording of what was important to them or what should be important to us living because of what they see on their deathbed, what was big for them. And a couple of elements of those things will always stand with me. And we just spoke about intent. So that all talks about truth, justice, honor. When you leave this life, I believe those people recorded those things because now they're at that door where they're going to cross over. They've looked back and thought, well, what am I going to face now in this exit from one doorway to another? And those important things about maybe they were thinking, oh, I know I did this, and maybe I was a bit too much of this type of person. And the truth of things hits them hard. And so that's why they they're very eloquent and they say the truth of things because they have nothing to fear now. This is it.
Mm.
And so for me, yeah, what kind of person am I here and now? What kind of person have I been? Because when you die and that judgment that will come, like energy is going to be there. You don't, all these people, the so-called elites of the world, they are human at the end of the day. So what? They're living with a ton of money and they're doing this and that, but they are no more than you and me ever. In fact, they are lesser because of
Mm.
the way they do the things they do. So you will hold a better place when you cross from this world to that world, when you live with as much good intent, honesty, purity, the way you work with Mother Earth, and all of this. You don't have to be a spiritual being, be a good being.
Mm.
You know, conscience will tell you when you've not been, because that won't lie to you either.
Oh no,
So,
Colin, I have a. There's nothing worse than a guilty conscience, is there?
yeah, you know when you've done wrong. So just hold those things
Mm.
and listen to yourself. That gut feeling we all get, we know when we've done wrong or doing wrong or making bad decisions, but sometimes we still go ahead and do them. That's
Mm.
detrimental to us as a being, both physical and spiritual. Although we learn spiritually from a lot of the terrible things that have occurred in our lives on whatever level,
Mm.
the soul likes to learn. But yeah, when you leave this life, for me, take those things into consideration.
Mhm.
You
I
won't,
try and put
yeah,
love at the center of every action that I have these days and thought. And that's, do you know, one of the biggest things is bloody because a lot of people go wrong with this. They can think, yes, okay, I give love to everyone, but it starts at home with number one, Colin. And that's how
yeah,
we
for
talk
sure.
to ourselves. And
Absolutely so.
no one ever abuses us as much as we abuse ourselves in our heads, Colin, I do think.
Yeah.
And I just want to pick up on what you said there a moment ago because the I like you. I said to you, my father passed away a little while ago, and even I've spent time in hospices, and I actually like spending time in hospices, not because not because it's sad, but I've sort of done volunteering and whatever, because
Yeah.
it brings me back to what matters in life. And it brings me back to because you get lost in this world at times, Colin. We get lost,
Oh, yeah.
in trivial
Don't we just?
matters. And, it's a very powerful reminder from what your friends, bless them, did. It's a very good idea. I think I might one day do the same if I ever have a choice in the matter.
Cool. Yeah.
But, sorry, go on. If you want to talk, Colin, you talk.
I have one last thing,
Please do.
subject. So
Go
the
ahead.
very last thing ceremonially that I took part in was they were all big life changes, all of them, but this thing really opened me, and I literally felt it in that moment, that period of doing it. And we come back just a week or so from a Sundance elsewhere, traveled a long way, and we got back to Scott's home in the Bridger Mountains of a section of the Rockies in a place called Bear Canyon for good reason. And we're in his home, and he comes to me and he says to me, Colin, you need to do another dance. I was a bit confused. I said, what do you mean? I said, we've just done one. I said, I'm still recovering from that. And he pointed out the window of his home up to the mountains and he said, no, up there. And so what he was talking about was what's called the vision quest.
Mm.
So you have to be, I don't think nominated is quite the word, but you have to be spoke. You can't say, I'm going to go do a vision quest. Somebody has to suggest it or put you up tribally for it,
Mm.
which I didn't know the full details of it, first of all. So Scott had to have gone to the elders or an elder within the Crow in the tribe and said, look, I've got this white boy here. He's done this, and I don't know how he would have put it to him, but he would have needed permission. So he'd been, got a yes, and that's what he proposed to me. I dreamt before I left England, I was sat on a mountain, so it wasn't a surprise. However, being sat on a mountain out there, as opposed to a mountain here, the wildest thing you're going to come across.
Mm.
I don't know, angry badger, something like that. So up there, wolves, bears, all of that type of thing. Different story. So when he approached me with it, normally if I'd have said yes straight away, I would have given him the pouch of tobacco that I had on my side, shook his hand and said, yes, I'll do that. And then you can't break it because somebody has to do the ceremony. And if I'd have chickened out, he'd have had to have done it. How can I let him do my ceremony? No, never, never, never. But I didn't say yes straight away. Bearing in mind, these ceremonies are on a full moon. So
Yes.
that night, I go to bed and I'm in my little bed and I'm praying like a good one. And sort of like, I really want to do this. I know it's a big thing, but I'm too scared. Give me a hand. That went on for a few nights. I did the same thing, woke up, no different, woke up, no different, still scared, still scared. Same thing applies. Then I go to bed that night, say my prayer with a bit more earnest, like, and following morning, I wake up and it was like, oh my God. Those nights you wake up from a dream and you think something happened and I have no idea what it was, but I know something happened. It
Yes.
was one of
Yes,
those
I do.
moments. I got up and I was like, where was the doubt? Why did you not just say yes in the beginning? So I've gone for the tobacco. I've turned round. Scott's already stood at the door. He knew. He knew.
Mhm.
He's got his hand out. I've given him tobacco, shook his hand, and we've had a big hug. And he said, right, you've got until I think it was like 11 o'clock tonight where you can eat and drink. But you know you're going on a fast because, again, Vision Quest, no food, no water, mate. Again,
Oh,
and a sweat
blimey.
before. So he
Oh,
says, right, you're
blimey.
up to 11 o'clock tonight. And as it happened, the day I decided, that night was the first night of the full moon. So if I'd have left it a day later, too late, next full moon. So
Oh.
I wouldn't have done it, would I? So
Oh.
that night, we go out in the evening and we do a prayer smoke. And then he's come out and he's got his big eagle feather fan. And he's told me, face the full moon, which you could see right in front of me. Because no neighbors, we're out in the hills in
Of
Bear Canyon near
course.
the Rockies.
Yes.
Beautiful, stunning. So I face the
Mm.
moon. And then in Sioux, actually, he was said his prayer and his blessing and his power prayer, whatever it was. And as he's done it, and so he told me, he said, look, you can't go up that mountain without any medicine. You haven't been before, so you don't have any. You don't have medicine. You don't have power. You don't have understanding. And that's what the Vision Quest gives you. He said, I've been many, many times. So I will lend you mine. That's what this ceremony is. I will give you, they will give
Oh.
you the spirit, my protection, my medicine, my power, and you'll go up the mountain with that protection. So he did it. He said the
Did you feel a
prayer.
bit more at ease at that point, Colin?
Oh, yeah. When I understood the full thing and I knew I was protected, because a lot of people you can tell these things to and say, oh, if you do this, you're protected. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I fully I was fully immersed, as I still am, in the faith of the tribal culture and the medicine and the power and the way of life and the knowing that they
Mm.
carry, because it was instilled in me deeply by Scott Frazier, the best spiritual teacher I've ever had and ever likely to meet. So humble, but he could be strong. And if he needed to say something definite that you needed to hear, he would be telling you. He would tell you straight. So he would put me in my place if I needed it. He supported me when I needed it a lot, deeply, very, very much. And he knows. And if he doesn't, he should know that he changed my life by pulling me in the way that he did and made me the being I am today. So next morning, we had a kind sweat lodge. He was kind, but it was still damn hot. And we had all my stuff packaged. I had a backpack with all what I needed. Can't tell you too much. The Vision Quest is about me getting my medicine. So
Mm.
you don't give medicine away. That's what you keep. It's kind of like that saying I learned from there also is never tell people what you're going to do. Show them what you've done.
Mm.
How many people, if you can give an idea to that you're fully enthused with and excited about, and you say, I'm going to do this, and well, you've told half a dozen people,
Yeah,
and
I
half of
agree
them
with
are like,
that.
oh, that's
Yeah.
not going to happen. What about this? Oh, yeah, I've heard that all before. You're never going to do it.
Mm.
Don't tell people. You do the thing, and then you show them
Yes, that's
complete
kind of the way I do a lot of things these days because it
big
loses
power.
all impact as well. And I think we get
Yeah.
into this mistake of almost saying it to people, like we're almost persuading ourselves that we're going to do something
Yeah,
as
there's
well.
big power in it. There's big power in that.
Yeah.
So the the next morning, all my stuff is washed because of the scent for bears and wolves and stuff. And unbeknownst to me, because of the tribal permission that was needed, all the youngsters and other people, he showed me into his little side building. On the table, there was all these little drawings in crayons and paint from all the youngsters of the tribe that were wishing me well in my vision quest. So I felt a huge well up of like emotion and
I
everything
bet you
that,
did.
because I'd literally felt then I was part of that tribal culture, the tribe. And I felt as honored and as blessed as you could ever be
I
about
bet you did.
anything. I was
Oh.
almost tearful. It was huge. And so I'd had my instructions. We jump in the pickup truck. We drive off for a while. We get to this point, and he says to me, jump out a minute. So I jump out, and it's this flat for miles, dusty, nothing. And then he leans over, pulls the door shut, points ahead and says, there's your mountain. I'll see you in 4 days. Bye. Gone. And I'm like, that was a bit quick. I weren't really expecting that. It caught me on the hop, but he knew
By
that
yourself?
by myself, and I didn't have time to say, I've changed my mind. Too
Oh, you're
late.
not giving any escorts
No,
either.
done. On your own. See you later. See you in 4 days on that trail.
I bet you wasn't feeling like your protection was going to work then, Colin.
I had to keep the faith, mate. I had to keep
Yes,
the
the
faith.
faith. That is a good word,
So,
faith. Yes.
and so I did. So this is where I have to kind of break it up a bit. But yes, things happened. It took me a good half a day to climb the mountain. We've just done the sweat lodge. It's about 80, 82, 84 degrees, something like that, our temperature. So low 50s, I think that is for them, isn't it? Low 40s, actually, low 40s.
Oh,
It was,
blimey. Absolutely roasting. Why it
yeah, it's
took me a
bloody hot,
moment to
mate.
register, Colin. I'm not one for
Oh
the
no, it
80s.
was a real hot day.
Oh,
It was a real hot
blimey.
day. So I've trekked off, done the mountain, got up there, right to the top, found my spot. I will tell you this one little bit because this is wonderful. And I literally have this weaved into my being, this memory. It will never go. I know every detail. But I'll just tell you it as it is for the sake of the people listening. He told me you will get to a point on this mountain where you will know you are going into the territory and the home of all the animals and the nature spirits and all of this. In that moment, you will ask permission before
Mm.
you move on. He said, but you will know. So I've gone along, had a fair old trek, believe me. And at the base
Mm.
of the mountain where the pine trees started growing, and there was loads of this very skinny, like straw, but very skinny and very tall. And it would have come up to my waist or above my waist in height. And I get to this point and I feel an energy. I feel a something touched me. And I know this is the place earnestly. So I stand there and I do what I was told in my own way. There was no rigid flat prayer. Say what you feel and speak honestly. So I give of my little prayer, like I'm here to respect. This is what I'm here to do. I will not damage anything or any animal, and I will be totally respectful. Said that bit, and then I think, right, then I'll go to move on. But as I go to move on, I couldn't move, and there was something more, and I didn't know what it was. And so I'm looking around, and then suddenly I look to my right, and only about 7 foot, 8 foot in front of me was a female deer, and because she was exactly the same color as this browny tan grass, she didn't stick out until I saw the white tuft on her neck. But there she was, and deer, you know how skittish they are. Hear you, they're
Mm.
gone. No, stood there, stock still, just looking at me. So I stayed stock still, and I really spoke so softly and gently to her. I looked her in the face, in the eyes, and I spoke gentle, and told her straight, look, I'm not here to hurt you or do anything. I'm just on my way. And then she made this noise in her throat. She vibrated her throat. And in front of me, about 3 foot, closer than she was, 4 foot in this thick browny grass, I saw the grass kind of moving. And then it moved and it came towards me. The grass was moving closer. And this
Mm.
tiny, brand new baby, literally like Bambi with the spots, with the little white spots on it, stood right in front of me, not 18 inches, 2 foot from me,
Oh,
and
wow.
just stood there looking at me. And the mother deer made a noise in her throat, and the baby stood there, looked at me. I never tried to touch it or do
Oh.
anything, and I spoke to it in the same manner. And then the mother deer changed her tone, different vibration. The baby deer looked up, gave me a last look, and just walked steady to mum. And then they both just turned and ambled slowly off. And then I made my way up the mountain with tears in my eyes because the energy, you have to be there, you have to be in it.
Yeah, yeah.
The energy and the power and the fact that Mother Deer told her baby, he's not going to hurt you. You can say hello. Trusted me. And even now,
Mm.
I can feel it. Have that memory so imprinted in me. I can relive that moment exactly, all
Well, yeah,
whenever.
we don't even know exactly how animals communicate with each other. We think we know, but we don't
We
know if
think
we don't know if they're talking telepathically in some way.
it's all about the vibration. Words are things.
Yeah.
So it's the energy of each word, like you did with your plant.
Yes.
If it didn't know the words, it knew the energy
Exactly.
of those
Exactly,
words.
Colin. You.
So that's how it was done. So anyway, I go up the mountain. I spend my four, well, I'd already done a whole day of no food, no water. By the time I got up there, day one was almost gone. I didn't sleep, I'll tell you, for a good 30 hours because yeah, I just couldn't. I was petrified, and that's the truth of it. Literally,
Wasn't really
physically
in the right
shaking.
environment to get a good night's
Nah,
sleep, Colin. No.
I don't remember when I slept. I only remember when I woke up on one of the days. And it was in the morning when the sun rose. So I did my morning prayer. That was always a thing, smoke, prayer, because the prayer is in the smoke and the intent. Did that, did all my things. Stuff happened. I'd never tell anyone because they're not going to get that medicine. And much harder coming down. Oh my God. That fourth day, I was
Yeah.
literally wiped. I was wiped out. I had to gather all my things together because it all had to be laid out in a particular manner. Coming down, take a few steps, sit down. Take a few steps, sit down. And then, as I'm looking, because there were moments as you're coming down the mountain, there were openings and you could see across the prairie. I
Oh,
saw
wow.
dust on the trail and I could see a tiny side red pickup in the distance. And I got my second wind. And then it hit me. My God, you've done it. You've actually done it.
I bet. I bet. I can't even imagine. Colin, what a
And
story.
yeah, so I came down. He picked me up. There was more to it, but it would be too long to tell you all the inner details. And anyway, you got the gist of it. And so, yeah, that was the last ceremony.
That was the last one that you did.
Yes, that was the last thing I did.
Was that because you were worried that they were getting more and more sort of crazy? You were worried about where you were going to end up next?
Well, no, Scott Frazier, actually, things had changed tribally and personally
Yeah.
for Mr. Frazier. Other circumstances had changed. We almost spoke about getting one done last year, him and I. But if anybody is interested, I have spoken to a couple of people, and I spoke to Enamani because it's a possibility we could do something similar here. And although it won't be in the tribal way, because it can't be,
Yes.
it, we can adapt it and we can give it a different name. But
Well,
we can
Colin, I
offer,
think you may be inundated with people, or perhaps
well,
no one after the experience, thinking they're going to go up a mountain in their own thing. But
well, it won't be that. I'm on about the Sundance, the
yes,
prayer ceremony. We can call it like a prayer fast
it
or
sounds beautiful.
something of that nature. So if people
Yeah.
are interested in that, they can contact me, or I'll put something out on Facebook anyway,
Well,
or on my
yes.
website, or both.
If you want to find out more about Colin, you can go to the show description where his website address will live there. Colin, I've loved every
Yeah.
moment of this story. It's so lovely to
Thank
have you
you.
on the Soul Sync. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you again for the invite second time. Much appreciated.
Oh, I've loved
So
it,
yes,
Colin.
thank you.